Can you see this lovely bag? Well, it may remind you of some crochet stitches, maybe like the popcorn stitch, but it isn't. This is actually macrame. So this bag was made entirely of macrame stitches and with this handle. You can see that this handle was worked around. It is relatively easy to do, and now that it is finished, it is ready to be used. But not quite. The reason for this is obvious. There are many forms of handwork that one can use for bags. However, if you actually do try, you will find out that things can come out of them if you do not line the bags. So the bag has to be lined. And in this case, we have looked for a matching color of lining to use, and it has been stitched down on two sides, just folded along the middle. And the top part has also been folded. Okay. We did not have to sew that top part. We just used a little bit of hemming gum to keep it in place, and now very imperceptibly, either using the same matching color of thread. So what we do then is that we would have measured the inside of the bag, and then let's look inside the bag. So we don't really want that to be exposed. So you make sure that the bag is very, very neat. So we're going to put the lining inside and stitch all around. Okay. We stitch all around the edges. Okay. So that at least anything we put inside will stay inside and not fall out through the holes that are there. Then we cannot be so perceptive, but they are there. And there are very many different types of stitches that one can use. One can use running stitches. One can actually use hemming stitches as long as the gap is not too much. So you thread your needle. And do you know that at Crafties, we do stock a lot of needles. Now, there are different types of needles, and it is important that you know how to use the right type of needles for whatever you are doing. If we were working with leather, for example, I would be using Glovers. If we were doing embroidery, we'll be looking at the crewel needles. But we are not doing that. So what is most appropriate now is a sharp needle that is not necessarily too long and enough space just for the single thread to pass through. Okay. If we were using several strands, then we can be looking at the chenille. Okay. And so here we are. This is a threaded needle, and we make sure that there are no ugly knots to be seen, which means that we can actually first of all pass it in through the t-shirt yarn, because this bag is entirely made of t-shirt yarn, and here we have used a very popular brand here in Nigeria. This is the Neocraft Station t-shirt yarn, and what we are doing now is just to stitch the lining on, and then once we are done with it, that is fine. Okay, so just stitch very carefully around the edges and make sure that it is firm and secure, and your bag is ready to go. Of course, you know that you can embellish this bag whichever way we want, meaning you can actually use thread to add pearls, just as you are seeing on this one that is in between the stitches. Then it is also possible to add fringe at the bottom of the bag. You know, you can actually accessorize it. People make fabric roses to embellish the bag. There are so many different things that you can do, and most of this we also teach here at Crafties. So if you like to learn, you can always just chat us up on our WhatsApp line. So look at this bag now. You can use it to go out. It is pretty and simple to make, and it will always be cheaper when you do it yourself, because then the labor which you have to pay for, you would not have to pay for if you do it by yourself. Well, that is, of course, if you have the time. Enjoy. I hope you learned something from this today. Bye, and see you next time.